I'm going to quickly show you how you can design commercial sites like this where you have a large building pad and car parks and loading bays. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in this large building pad. So I'm going to use the building tools and add in a new definition, and I use my snaps, and I'm actually just going to draw a line around the outside of this building. So I'm snapping to the corners of the walls. I need to use the snap to intersection to find that one. Go back to snap to point, find it as we go. I need to use the intersection tool on that one as well. And there we go. So right click and hit finish. So I've done the outline of the building. I need to set the front of the building to be that wall, and then hit finish and give it a name. Call this one warehouse. Okay. So initially the FFL is coming in at 0. So what I want to do is find an approximate 0 cut and 0 fill level. So basically somewhere near the surface. So I'm going to use the level to surface option, which has done that for us. So you can see here it's actually half underneath and half above. So we need to now make a better guess of that one. So we can see from our site that the ground falls to the right, and it falls quite steeply to the right as well. So we actually have a parking bay in front of the building on the left hand side of it here, which needs to be at the similar levels to the FFL. So we'll actually be digging in quite a long way on the left hand side here. So to offset that extra cut in, I need to raise the FFL a small amount. So I can have a look at what the FFL is. It's 44.175. Let's make that something like 45 meters. Okay, so that's raised it up. You can see it's moved the line where it's cutting the surface to the left a little bit there. Okay, so we've input the building, and we now need to start putting in our roads. So the first thing I'll do is I'll put in the entrance road from here through to here. So I'll then add in my channels, curbs and footways for that one. I'll hit the pick button and pick from the drawing 3.25. And in this case, I actually probably want to make it something like 1 in minus, 1 in 100 to 1 in minus 100. I'll do it, and click OK. So we've got our road in, and the next thing is I want to do this loading bay at the rear here. So let's do that now. So I'll put in a new centerline from here through to here, finish, add in my channels and curbs for this one, hit the pick button, pick from the drawing, 19.8. The right hand side wasn't quite matching, so I need to hit the untick right as a duplicate and tick the what is the right offset and pick the button, and there we go. So that's 19.8, that's 25. This time I'm going to make this something like 1 in 150 to 1 in minus 150. Okay, so that's falling from the right hand side to the left. So this is the right hand side looking along the chain edge of the road, so that's the left hand side, so it's falling away from the building. Okay, and then we can put in our junction, so there's no junction on that side, and basically that's going to be a 1 meter radius. Yeah, create junction. There we go. So we've got some junction annotations automatically put on for us. I'm just going to quickly turn that layer off just because they're not needed for this drawing. And then we can see what we got. Okay, so we also now have a footway that goes from the beginning of the road right the way through to the end, and it actually overlaps the building pad here, so we don't want that. I think what's actually indicated on the drawing is that the path goes to here and then stops. So we're going to go and edit our footway, and we're going to say turn off snaps, where obviously the path will be cut for the junction anyway. So somewhere in this junction here, I want to stop the path, and then somewhere in this junction here, I want to regain it because I want to keep it for this bit here. So I've basically put in a 0 length parallel section for this, which will remove it from that area, and then hit finish, and you can see that's done. When I put this road in, that will chop that back. Okay, I want to do somewhat similar for this bit, so let's do that now. Edit that footway, new parallel from the beginning through to there at 0 offset. Okay, hit apply. And then similarly on this one, edit that side, new parallel from here. This time I actually don't want to go right the way around the end because it looks like there's a path that goes all the way along. So I want to do 0 offset to about there. So hit OK on that one. And you see there's a little build out here that I don't want. I actually want it to go across here. So we can use our mitre tool here to extend this direction here and this direction here and find the intersection of those two lines. So we're going to say from this direction through to that direction. You can see it's rubber banding a line out here. It's found the IP position between those two. Click OK and hit apply, and we've done it. Okay, so we've got that. Next thing is to insert these roads. Let's do that now. So very quickly, these look like fairly simplistic roads, straight line from here to here. Okay, let's just put in all the center lines at the same time. Snap to point, snap to arc, and then snap back to point. Okay, snap to point here, snap to arc, snap to point. Okay, and then finally this one here, from here to here. Okay, so we have the center lines in. Next thing is to make them into roads by adding channels, curbs, and footways. In this case, what we actually want to do is pick, and that's coming in as 2.98. It's probably going to be 3. Let's use some experience to see that one. I don't want any curbs or footways, so get rid of those. And the right-hand side grade needs to be 1 in -40. So the right-hand side of this road is higher than the left. Because of the way this site falls, that is rather steep. I need to make sure that this grade in this road is falling in the same direction as the entrance road. Okay. And it's now offering me some junctions. Let's put in our 1 meter radii. Okay. Now let's just carry on doing the exact same thing for the others. So again, this one is pick, and yep, that's coming in as 3 meters. Don't want any curbs. Right is not a duplicate of left, and make that also 1 in 40 to 1 in -40. So right hand side is a lot higher than the left. Okay. Put in our 1 meter junction fillets. Okay. And now it's offering me the junction on this end of it as well. So that's going to be 1 meter, and that's going to be 4 meters. So now if we're looking at this, we can see that the actual line that we're putting in is not the right width at this point. So we'll sort that out now. So we're going to do that one by adding in some, we're going to edit the channels. So I'm going to actually put this parking bay in now. So I'm going to do that by using a new parallel tool. So I'm going to say from here through to, well, it's to the end here, but we'll do that now at that width, so 7.8 meters. Now you can see it's curving around here because it's actually following the parallel of the center line here, because we're just putting a new parallel item. In a minute, once I've done this width here, I'm going to then find the intersection of those two directions like we did for the path just a moment ago. Okay, so a new parallel from the other end of it to somewhere in here at that offset of 2.45. Okay, so now we've got the new width here and the right width here. We'll use the miter tool with no snaps again. So I'm going to say I want to extend this direction and this direction. So miter from here through to here, and you can see it's found the intersection of those two lines. Click OK and apply, and it's done. And you can see that's now pulled that in for the right width. Junction is now okay, and the parking bays are added. So similarly, I need to add in these parking bays. Let's just do that now as well whilst I'm here. So snap back on. So from here to the end at that width, 7.8, okay, and apply. Right. So I don't need to add in the parking bays in the middle, but I do need to add in this road first. Let's do that now. I need to add in my channels, curbs, and footways for it. So pick from the drawing what that is, 2.999. That's going to be 3, isn't it? And in this case, again, the right is not the same as the left, but this one just wants to be something like 1 in 100 to 1 in -100. And I don't need any curbs on this at all. Okay. And we'll put in our 1 meter junction here. There we go. So again, we have to adjust the width of the road here. I'll do that in a minute once I've added in this short little road here. So this one is going to be 3 meters again, and no curbs. And again, this is going to be something like 1 in -100 to 1 in 100. And click OK. So again, it's going to ask me 2 junctions in a row. It's going to ask me for this one first, then this one. 1 meter and 1 meter. Create junction and 1 meter and 1 meter. Here we go, we've added those in. So now I just need to very quickly edit this one's channels and make that the new width. So from the beginning to somewhere halfway around that corner at the new width of 2.4499, that's going to be 2.45, isn't it? It's letting me see the values that I'm picking, you see, and I can then verify whether they're correct or not, so I can update them. Okay, and then use the miter tool, turn off the snap, and say, well, I actually want to refill it this time rather than just finding the intersection point. So I want to extend this straight and this straight, and you can see it's giving me an unfilleted one, and then I know in this case it's going to be a 1 meter wide, a 1 meter radius on that one. So it's now filleting those two straights with that one radius. And then apply. Done. Okay, so I need to add in this little parking bay really quickly. So edit that channel, new parking bay, new widening from here to here at that offset, 7.788. So again, this is where we can say, well, that should be 7.8. Hit OK and apply. So as I said, we don't need to add in the bays inside these, because when we create the final surface, they will be interpolated across them anyway. So the next thing I want to do is I want to do the junction to existing road. Let's do that now. So new centerline. What we need to do here is we need to indicate to Site3D where the existing channel is. So we're just going to put a design line or a center line along the existing channel, snapping to all the 3D points as we go. We only need to go as far as the junction fillet would need, so just a little bit beyond in this case. And then I'm going to level that to existing ground by using the road centerline level to surface. Pick that one. Are you sure you want to destroy the alignment? Yes, I do. I want to wipe it and reset it with the ground level. And that's done. So now I need to select and add some channels onto this side. So in this case, I have put it from top to bottom. So I want a channel on the left-hand side only. So right is not a duplicate of left, and untick the channels completely. I do not want anything on the right-hand side. I don't need anything on the left-hand side other than a zero width channel. Okay. Now it's offering me a junction, so I know I need to put in my 12-meter radio on that one. And you can see that now matches the junction. Hit create junction. Done. Okay, so now we have our design in. I need to do my loading bay here. So this is a split level loading bay. So what we need to do is we need to add that in by, again, editing the channels on this one. And what I want to do is I want to say, I want to remove this portion of this road. So from here to here, I need it to be at that offset. Okay, and apply. And now we've removed that portion of that road by putting a narrower portion of the channel in it. So this allows me then to put in a new centerline where the road used to be, from here to here. And I can specify the width of that to be the width of what I need it to be. So to the inside here. And I can say, well, I don't need any curbs on that, but I do want this to be something like 1 in 150 to 1 in minus 150. So there's a bit of a cross grade to it, whatever. And then click OK. And it's asking me for some junction radii. Of course, in this case, I just want some very small ones, because there isn't really a small junction here. I just want to stop the curbs, the tires being popped on any sharp curbs here. So create junction. And there we go. So we've got a small gap between these two roads here deliberately, so that we can have a retaining wall and walls above here to stop people falling into it. So you can see here we've got our road going in. Now its level is not right yet. We need to actually set the levels for the roads, and that's the next thing we're doing. So we've set the FFL for the building pad. So we know that's at 45 meters. So the next thing we need to do is set the major road coming in first. We can do it in any order, but it just makes sense to do the major road first, the entrance road. Okay, so by default, the roads will start with their ground levels set at either end. And we now need to actually work out what we need to do. So in this case, I want to drop the level of this road to the FFL level by this point. So what I want to do is add in a new IP, put it in here, and then say, right, okay, so that's somewhere around about here. So I want to do right click and enter gradient. So I know at something like chainage 42, my left gradient needs to be 1 in minus 20. Okay. So there we go. So that's now going to be at my 1 in minus 20 at chainage 42. That's brilliant. So that's now at this point here. So the end of this, obviously, because we are now in fill using the, because we saw on the 3D view, if you turn the surface back on, you can see that we're actually above the ground here. So I need to similarly raise the end of that road up. So let's do that now by right-clicking and enter gradient. And I know the left gradient, so this gradient, the preceding gradient, needs to be something like quite flat. So 1 in minus 150 will do me. Okay, so there we go. It's now 1 in 20, which is the steepest we can have for the entranceway, bringing it down to roughly the 1 in 45, 45 meters, and then 1 in 150 all the way along. So I want to put in a vertical parabola on that one just to smooth that level out. So get something that's approximately right. Right click and enter the actual length. So it's something like a 30-meter curve. Okay, so that's that road done. So actually, I should now turn on the contours and we can see what's going on. Do 0.1 interval for these. Okay, so there we go. So we've got a very steep road here. Let's have a look at what's going on that one. Sure enough, we do have a very steep, and the reason why is because it's now latched to the level of the road over here, but obviously we need to bring it down. So let's do that. So let's bring that down to that point down here. So we now have a grade going across here, and we can then set that grade if we want to by into the grading and say 1 in whatever it is, but we can leave it as is for the moment because that looks okay. Okay, so that's now moved all that for us. We now want to look at the loading bay here, so let's have a quick look at that one. So the loading bay itself is going down. Let's have a look at the long section levels of that one. It's going down quite a long way. It's a bit too far. Let's actually raise that up a little bit. So the idea here is that a lorry will be able to reverse down, and the actual axis of the lorry will then be level with the docking bay here for the vehicle to offload everything easily. If you look at the plan here, we actually have a line on the drawing here, which is probably indicating that we actually want a ramp and then a relatively flat area here. So when the trailer is actually docked, it's actually relatively level. So we can do that by in the long section, we can right click in add point and pick chainage from plan view. And then we can say with our intersection snap here, there please. And it'll give me a chainage and a level. So that will be the level and chainage on here. Okay, so it's just put that in. I haven't actually changed the actual gradient, but it's put it in and marked the position. So now I can go in and go into the move point and right click on that one and say lock chainage, and you can see now I can move that up and down so I can get something that's quite nice. So I can get a different grade, I can set my gradients, everything like that. And then I also, if I wanted to, I could also put in a small curve on that one just to smooth it out and do something like a 10-meter long vertical parabola. Okay, so we've got that one in. So the next stage, turn off the surface coloring and we can see the other roads. So this one over here, we know we need to raise this level here because this, sorry, we need to drop that level because it is raised at the moment. So let's go into the long section of that road. And yep, sure enough, we want to right click and enter chainage and level. And we know it's going to need to be something like 45 meters because that's the same level as the FFL. So with that, in conjunction with the grade of the road, will drop it slightly lower than the actual FFL, which we can see here is correct. And that's much, much better. So the next thing we want to do is set the grade of this one. So we actually want to have a flat area or flattish area in front of this building so the grade between these is not undulating too much. So to do that one, I want to insert a new IP some point in this location here, you see. So I want to do it about there, drop it down, go to the move point and right click enter gradient. So in this case, I don't know where that IP should be, but I want to find out. So I want this at the steepest of 1 in minus 20 and something like a 1 in minus 150. Okay, and there we go. So that's the intersection of 1 in minus 20 and 1 is minus 150. And I can put in my vertical parabola on that one, right click enter length and do something like a 25-meter length on that one. It's a car park, so it's not too much, not too critical. Okay. So now we're looking at that one. We can very easily set this one now. So the long section of this road is basically just the same gradient as this one because it's working in parallel. So enter gradient. I just need that one to be 1 in minus 150. There we go. So that will now match along here. It'll match the grade of this road, so they'll work in tandem. And the one in between is set just because it's locked onto both of those anyway. So that's okay as well. So the final one is this little road here. So we need to look at that one, and we are a little high there, so we actually need to drop that in the middle. So let's go into the long section of that road. Sure enough, it's just a straight grade from here to here, so let's drop that down and pull it down a little bit, something like that, putting a vertical curve, whatever we need. Want a 15-meter curve on that one. And then we need to go to the move point because we want to go and right click and enter gradient. So we need to make sure, yeah, that's nearly 1 in 20. So let's make that 1 in minus 20, gradient intersection, and make that 1 in 60. So there we go. And that will then mean that we are dropping down to the FFL kind of level, and that is great. Okay, so we have the levels, we have the road. Next thing we want to do is put a line around the outer edge of our site to on the boundary so that we know we're not going to be affecting any levels outside because we are going to be doing some grading around the building. So new center line, right click, select line and pick my outer boundary line here. There we go. So I now need to level that to existing ground using the same way as I did with the existing junction. Level to surface and pick that center line. Yep, warning, it's going to remove the alignment. Yep, that's exactly what I wanted to do. I want to replace it. And now we can then do our regen final surface. So surface and create final surface. We have our design with our final surface on. So you can see the blue surface here going out. I can even then contour that if I wanted to. Go into my final surface on the contours, 0.5, okay. So we have our final surface designed, contoured. We can get some spot gradients on this if we want to check and verify that the gradients we're getting are what we want. So I'd say over here, change it to the final surface model, and then we can say that's 1 in 10, 1 in 6, 1 in 3.8, 1 in 4.7. Yeah, so we're doing okay. We're not too steep. We're getting 1 in 6 and something over here, 1 in 8. So yeah, so we're okay. We do have a steep site here, so that's obviously going to have to be done with a retaining wall at some point, but we can then see that very, very easily and quickly on our design. Right, so the only thing left to do now is to calculate the volumes, the cut and fill volumes for this site. So we're going to have a look at that one. So surface, volumes, change the proposed to my final surface and change the existing to the 3D survey, hit volumes, and there we go. So you can see the cut and fill volumes that we've calculated here. So we have more fill than cut, but obviously we'll be, if we're doing some drainage, that'll be putting in some more cut as well and any kind of storage tanks and everything like that. So that might equal out later on. And then we can hit save volume model and call this one cut and fill. Okay. So I've done that one, close that one, and you can now see the volume lines on our cut and fill model. So what I'll do is I want to color them. So I'm going to hit model color, change that to my cut and fill model I just created, and hit height bands and cut and fill. Okay, so now I've done that one, I can go in and turn off those volume lines, just turn them off in the layers under our cut and fill model. And you can see the height banding for our cut and fill with the table over here showing what those bands mean. And we can then see everything in 3D as well. So you can see our whole area of cut and our whole area of fill and the grade between them and where that is. Yeah, basically zero cut and fill between those two. Thank you.